Hello, everyone. Welcome to AMA number 108 with Oren Elkayam, CEO of Mobilicom. Thank you so much, everybody here today. Those coming from Reddit, X, Discord, and StockTwits. As you're aware, Mobilicom is one of our sponsors, including the other 40 sponsors we have on this program. So we really appreciate them as they support us as we continue to grow. Welcome, Oren. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you very much, Mo, for having me. We are doing great. We had a great week, and we expecting great weeks ahead of us going forward. So I'm fine.
Yeah, we're very excited. We continue to see you guys grow. We're continuing to see how you guys structurize your teams, and you guys are hiring all over LinkedIn, all showing promise as you guys integrate further with tier one contractors. And most excitingly, as everybody saw earlier this week, you had that 2.2 million in new purchases tied to that $249 million US program of record, with shipments already underway and scaling in 2026. People are asking, how should investors think about this in long-term revenue potential? Because this looks like a start, like a teaser. We know the Pentagon is putting multi-billion-dollar purchase orders, like 75 billion. Something like that. So how should investors think about this in long term?
So you're right. So the first, what we can show the investor that are following Mobilicom is a sequence, and with this specific tier one mega customers in the United States, which is one of the leaders of small size drones robotics to U.S. Department of War. We've seen that we work with them for the last 4 years. We had at the beginning small different purchase orders in the design phase, in the R&D phase with them, and so on. Then we experienced a sequence of orders, which was relatively $200,000 per order, up to the middle of 2025 last year. And then from there onward, in Q4, we received a $1.5 million order that's scaling initial production in order to allow deployments within the Marine Corps. And then right now, a few months later, we have 2.2. So we can see a clear trajectory that is accelerating as the program of record that our partner won with our solutions inside is scaling. We are scaling with them. And obviously, that will continue on the course of the next at least 5 years, because programs of record are for 5 years before they are extended. So investor could see a company that has a clear, significant programs that with the government that promise stream of revenue over the next 5 years. On top of that, as you mentioned, we anticipate that this program, which we started with $250 million roughly, will accelerate even further, because that was designed 4 years ago, roughly. And this number was pre-Ukraine, pre-Iran, pre-Russia, manufacturing 4 million drones a year. So we understand that if America, we would like to close the gap, America is going to invest significantly in ramping up those numbers. And the request that was made by the Pentagon to extend the budget of drones in the coming budget request for $75 billion shows that this is the path. So a program like that could scale 5 times, 10 times, who knows? And that shows that even that program can create a great path to profitability and scalability for Mobilicom without additional wins that we have progressing under our belt.
That's amazing. And it is true, like 249 million won't close the gap, like you mentioned. This was 4 years ago, before the bog in Ukraine, and we're seeing how effective drones are, especially with Iran and the Strait of the Hormuz, with U.S. strategic posture challenged by their drones that they have. I could easily see this becoming 50, 80, 100 billion, scale it by 10 program when they renew, probably even sooner. You know what I mean? And with your initial order of 2.2 million, previously 1.5 in smaller initial batches, our thoughts are that this is like the entry starter, that under the program of record. Do you expect Mobilicom will get larger contracts as the Pentagon scales and as you guys scale with them?
I will say that the first orders were to deploy first battalions, the first two battalions. But those that are searching how many battalions the Marines have, you will see that they have tens of battalions. I mean, it's like something like 70 to 80 battalions. And then more importantly, you will understand that those kind of fragile loitering munition, drones that are hit and explode, are replaced very often, either because they are used so immediately you have to replace them, or because if you are practice and training with them, they are damaged because they are on the backpack of the soldier, which means that in an average, you can imagine that every 2-3 years, you have to replace the entire quantity. So just maintaining the same quantity will require ongoing purchases to maintain this quantity. And the quantity that was starting with or planned under the $250 million to begin with is just the tip of the iceberg, because we understand that everything has to grow to hundreds of thousands of units, if not to the millions.
Mm-hmm.
And that means huge numbers. And yes, so we anticipate that over time, as the production scalability, the factory of our partners, the requirements from the end customers is expanding, more battalions are deployed, we will have that. And then the recurring replacement effect will start hitting as well. So it will grow and grow and grow, because you will have first seeding the first battalions, then expanding to more and more battalions, and then replacing to all battalions and feeding this enormous activity. And this is without the fact that our partner is aiming to win additional programs of record within the United States and externally that will then create much bigger volume. And that's really important.
Right. But could you say that, let's say, because the US government obviously wants to close the gap as they see their significant weakness with their drone systems and not having the experience, let's say they scaled 10x with even your partner, right? Do you guys have the ability to scale at the same time 10x?
So that's a fair and question. We've been approached by the Pentagon because of our involvement within the different activities of the drones in the United States and being classified as American solution that have all the regulatory aspect that is required to be part of a program of record and other activities. So they wanted to make sure that we have a capacity to produce, second, that we are going to increase capacity in the United States, make it on American soil. And we advise them that by the end of this year, we are going to have more production and bigger production on the United States. I can say that because Mobilicom is based its production on contract manufacturers, we don't do it in-house. We do it by contracting that to manufacturers that works for us. They are taking our drawings and our information. They are manufacturing for us. We are getting that back, and we are then burning the IP and the secret software on top of that and making this hardware the smart thing it is that makes the value of the solution. So with that means that we can scale 10 times with very little investment capital-wise. And to say, and that is maybe a good point to mention, one of the advantages and differentiation of Mobilicom. Many of the companies that we appreciate on the NASDAQ that are doing a part of the drone revolution, many of them are drone manufacturers, which means that if they have to scale 1 to 2 times, they will have to build more factories, hire much more people that are assembling those drones, and then very intensive work aspect have to be done, and with a lot of space, machinery, and so on in order to scale production. So the very intensive production has to be made. Mobilicom, on the other hand, as I mentioned, is contract manufacturing. So we don't have to do any investment on sites, production, and so forth. We might have to have some logistics, management, and things like that, and hire additional team to manage more contract manufacturers processes. But that's it. After we hired maybe 2-3 more and done some small activity, we can scale 10 times with very little capital expenditure, which bring us to a very important fact, which is the ROIC, return on invested capital of Mobilicom. Because of that nature of the business, with a growth margin of about close to 60% on the hardware business and close to 90% on the cybersecurity business, we understand that our advantage here is our fact that we don't have to invest in capital in order to grow significantly, which means that every additional millions of dollars beyond cash flow positive, most of it is translated into the bottom line of the profit. And that's the beauty around Mobilicom's ROIC as investment that doesn't exist in any of the other tickers we are familiar with on the NASDAQ in this space.
Amazing. And, you know, from previous interviews we have had, you've told us your margins are quite high, north of 60-70%, right? So if you scale 10x, that's pretty good for the bottom line for the firm. Wow.
Definitely. I mean, I think that our business model is built on stackable approach. We first put the first foot in the door by embedding and the hardened hardware. Those are secured hardware solution that provides a communication and networking between the drones operators, so multiple drones to a fleet or swarm. And that is hardened, and that's our security advantage over everyone else because we are secured. And that's the first step in the door. And this is a mandatory piece of the puzzle of any drone or robot. From the moment that we are there, we are then adding the ICE cybersecurity, the ICE electronic warfare resistance software that enable you to work with the existing battlefield, which is packed with jammer interceptors and other elements that are trying to hack your communication and disable the drone operation. So this is a software licensing. And then we are cross-selling the cybersecurity of the autonomy, because everything is going to autonomy, handling more drones that are the independent or semi-independent, which can then have clusters of multiple drones operating together as a fleet or swarm, which means that they need to be secured. And we are the cybersecurity for this autonomy, which is 90%. So as we are moving forward and cross-selling the other items, we increase the percentage of Mobilicom portion of any platform in the market. So we are making more cents on a dollar on any sales of our customers. And B, we are increasing our gross margin significantly, which then after we cross the cash flow positive, we are able to build a company that is growing very fast because of this light investment that we have to make on growth, which means that everything is translated to the profitability.
That's amazing. That's the kind of numbers analysts look at for repricing, on a stock. With the recent program of record win by your tier one customer partner, which suggests multi-year funding like we just talked about, which is like 5 years at a time, would you say this marks as an inflection point for Mobilicom in terms of predictability for recurring defensive revenue?
It's a differential point, definitely, not just because of this customer, but also other customers. I think that Mobilicom in 2025 built the different criteria and milestones that enable it to be an Americanized product that has all the regulation certification and included in all the different lists and criteria by the Department of War. And that was significant. We have about 5 different regulation that we have met that takes years to do before you can be classified as that, and we've done it. With the local production that is done this year, we will close all the things that is needed to be one of few solid American vendors to enable this industry for the defense as well as for the commercial. So it's the year, and then backed by this program of record by this customer and additional customers that we are engaging right now and doing work which will be revealed soon to the market as outcome. We are changing right now the company completely and moving to the high growth momentum. So this is indeed the initial inflection point.
Yeah, for me, honestly, when I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is a moment of inflection point for Mobilicom. So it's very exciting to see where you guys will be in the next 2 years. It's a very exciting time. With your systems now embedded in the loitering munition drones under U.S. defense program, how defensible is your position once you're integrated into the program of record? Does this make you ahead? Because when we look around, we're seeing all these American firms starting from scratch, making the hardware, Some of them are not even thinking about the software yet. Maybe contracting out to other parties. Never battle tested. You know what I mean? Um, do you feel that since you're so far ahead and now you're integrated into this U.S. defense program, that this gives you a defensible position?
I think that the fact that we've done, okay, first you have to understand that unlike some of the competitors, Mobilicom is developing down to the bit everything that we own. So if we are taking the Scarper family of data link and communication for drones or robotics, which is secured and hardened hardware, over there we control all the different layers of the product down to the bit, and we own the IP for that, which means that versus our competitors, some of the competitors that we have in America, and there are a few, we are able to control our roadmap. We can align ourselves to the needs of America. We can work with partners and change things to their need and embed new capabilities that is changing very frequently because the battlefield is changing very fast, and be ahead of the curve, embedding things inside that others that don't control the IP of their solution are unable sometimes to do that. And therefore, that's why security and hardening being secured solution is the important differentiation of Mobilicom. And if you add to that the fact that not that we have the right product in the right time, we also have the Blue Select certification, the Trusted Cyber certification, the NDAA validation, the DD49 equipment frequency allocation. We've done the Trusted Drone recently. All of those different regulations that we pass make it American product that can be trusted and useful by the industry. And now we have a walled garden of industry players that can be playing in America with a budget that is going to be 10 times as what we have right now, and we're only starting. So we believe that we can extract more business significantly because A, we have everything that we need. We control our IP and business going forward. B, we have the local production. And C, we have the capacity to cross-sell and help the customers with all of that is one of the few players. And that's unique model that position Mobilicom well in a way that if we are gathering that and additional products, it will be hard to replace. And more than that, will give us advantage over others to take more and more market share as the market is increasing. And this is before we are moving to the cybersecurity for the edge computing of the AI by Qualcomm and NVIDIA that we've done, and the cloud solutions on the back end. And that will even more and more increase Mobilicom footprint in the market, because on the cybersecurity, currently for the small size drones robotics market segment, there is no valid solution in the market like Mobilicom today that can meet the requirements of the Department of War as they were released recently, that have a product which is already embedded on Qualcomm and NVIDIA players, and which is already integrated in the market, and that can protect America against the cyber attacks that we are seeing right now for this market.
Amazing. Talking about protecting America, we'll quickly discuss a few of the upcoming events Mobilicom will be attending over the next 4-5 weeks. Mobilicom will be at the Modern Day Marine, April 28th to 30th in Washington, D.C. And they'll be also at Exponential 2026, May 12th to 14th, Huntington Palace in Detroit, Michigan, and also the Loitering Munition USA 2026 in Arlington, Virginia, on May 13 to 14, and finally SOF Week, May 18 to 21st in Tampa, Florida, which is one of my favorite towns in the United States. It looks like you'll be having a busy end of April, May. Why is that, Oren? This is more than I've seen usually.
So we would like to take advantage of our position in the market and translate that into business, and which means that we have to have more engagement with the Department of War officials and the Corps of America, and second, meet with the customers that serve them. So we have to work top down and bottom up, working top down from the different Department of War, different corps and officers that manage those programs. And secondly, working with the manufacturers of the drones, meeting their needs of the end customer that we are communicating with. And so we've done quite a lot of those events so far. From the beginning of the year, we have 6 events already. And some of them we sponsored, like the activity of the Army on loitering munition and so forth. But the coming things are very important because those are some of the biggest shows in the industry. More than Marine next week is an opportunity for us to meet with the end customer, the Marines, understand what is their wish list, what they see going forward, where are the gaps, so we can accommodate their needs ahead of everybody else and win more market share. So those discussions with the officials of the Marines is important for us. And then meet with existing customers, update each other and work, because everybody is coming from the industry. So we have some of the current customers over there with meeting aligned, and then meeting with new and progressing new customers that we are in process with them to the next phase. So Modern Day Marine next week in Washington is important phase forward, and our team will be there. We will be presenting in our booth of a partner, a channel partner in the United States for the DoD. And then we continue 2 weeks later to Exponential, which is the more commercial event of the biggest drones or robotics AVUSI organization in the world. We will give lectures over there. We have tons of meetings. We have delegations from institutional investors that are coming with us, bankers that are coming with us. So it will be a big show for Mobilicom with our big booth and activity over there, which is planned ahead of time. And we will launch new products and new partnership. So stay tuned to Mobilicom. And on the same week, we have another team hosting and sponsoring the Loitering Munition Conference in Arlington between government officials and DOW, Department of War leaders, and small amount of industry players. And that was a big important event for us, because loitering, kamikaze drone, munition solution is our one of our biggest success. We want to continue with that. And then to be followed by Tampa, Florida, where the Special Forces biggest event of the year, Soft Week, is done. And again, meeting, it's a sequence of meeting and progressing, A, with the officials, and B, with the customers that we're having. So you will see a lot of activity of Mobilicom, progression of deals, and then new customers and new deals will be created over here, and new product will be launched. Things that we are working under the hood for many months will be coming soon to be released. So exciting times in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
That's very exciting. You know, everyone, as you're hearing from Reddit, StockTwits, Discord, and X, product launches maybe by Exponential 2026, May 12 to 14. Very exciting. It looks like, you know, attending is like 8,500 global professionals at world's largest drone and robotics show. And Oren at that time will be there on site. You know, it looks like the Needham delegation will be there. And Oren, are you meeting any other people there as well? Are you meeting any of the other CEOs for lunch, breakfast, dinner? Do you guys chat or anything like that while there?
I think that we are in a unique position that there are only small amount of companies playing in this market, which is Americanized solution fully that can meet the needs of America and serve the industry scalability. And we are one of those players. I'm happy to meet, and we have gatherings of some of the CEOs. So you can call it some kind of a meetup that allow us first to exchange views and continue the discussion that we have regularly, but also have some joint time together to brainstorm, plan together, and accelerate the industry. So yes, we have interesting events like that, which is a close meetups of I think 8, 9 of the CEOs of this industry working together for the next phase. So yes, it's important because eventually we are a small amount of players that can bring America vision forward on the drones or robotics, and scaling that to where it should be, and the cooperation between us and be able to communicate freely and independently and accelerate stuff is really important. And as you know, those relationship is building the next big thing together.
Amazing. One thing I wanted to point out to our viewers today is that, you know, a lot of buzz recently was going around Swarmer, the American drone firm, which is basically leveraging a Ukrainian company. And their revenue was a couple of 100,000, you know, compared to Mobilicom, and their reach not far. The only reason why they're trading so high is because of the visibility that they got on IPO, and it was also backed by Eric Prince of Blackwater, right? So when Mobilicom gets to be really known, which I predict it will be this year, I would say it'll be Swarmer times 5. So that's what really excites me about Mobilicom, right? Because you guys have the product line, you guys have the experience, you guys have the pipeline, contracts, program of record, things that very, very few companies in your field have. So we're very excited to see how Mobilicom goes through the next couple of months as the United States realizes that for strategic posture, so it doesn't get challenged in the open seas, in straits, that they really need to up their drone game. And very few people have been paying attention and making these connections. So that's why we're very excited to present Mobilicom, which is one of our favorite guests to bring on this show. Uh, you know, Going forward, Oren, recently you had recent highlights about the growing adaptation of both Skyhopper Pro and your cybersecurity suite. Which of those components is driving the most value in differentiation in recent deals? Looking at from what happened in India, the deal that you guys had there, to right now with the new orders that came in, which one is driving it?
So it will be, we can share that obviously what you've seen on the news, that the Skyhopper family of secured and hardened communication and networking for drones or robotics is the best seller of Mobilicom to date. We have multiple products in this family that is deployed across different vendors in United States, Israel, and Europe. And yes, you've heard about different opportunities that we locked across UAE and Singapore and in Asia and some of other nations. So yes, we are expanding. You saw the Indian opportunity that we opened recently and so forth. All of that is good and true. So the Skyhopper is the leading product right now. But the ripple after that, the cross-sell of the ICE, electronic warfare, which is mandatory. Yes, you can have a drone that will work in regular life over here, but if you bring it to the battlefield, you needed to overcome the different aspects that we see over there that are changing constantly. And the ICE, electronic warfare security, electronic warfare resistance and security of the data link enables you and proven in the battlefield to enable you to carry on the mission. Otherwise, you will have drones falling from the sky. With Mobilicom electronic warfare resistant solution, you can actually operate in those harsh conditions and interfered and jammed and blocked and intercepted environment. Let's remind that the audience that just a week ago, if I'm not mistaken, United States, or 2 weeks ago, United States has lost a big drone valued on over $200 million in the Gulf of the Arab Gulf because of interception and that was done on the communication. So that's something that we've seen, and we've seen quite a lot of those that is not public yet. So this is the biggest sales are coming right now from the Skyhopper family and licensing the electronic warfare software ICE. But the next wave will come from the autonomy of the drones, which will require cybersecurity for AI autonomy. And this is exactly what we are doing with the OS-free and secured autonomy solution, leading the market, helping the market, and basing and bringing something which is the first to the world based on the American new regulation and standardization. So that will be the next wave that will carry high scalability, higher margins, and higher growth for the company. So in this year, maybe next year, we anticipate that Skyhopper will be the leader, and then the transition will be more and more cyber and software solution will be embedded.
So some people might ask, when companies embed these technologies, what prevents, right away it being circumvented? We're seeing that it's like an arm race that's almost developing every week in between Russia and Ukraine, for example, in their drone and counter drone technology. America, one of the largest and the strongest army and navy military from every facets, has some of its biggest drones now falling out of the sky. What guarantees this technology from Mobilicom will actually work, though? Is it battle tested? Have you seen being challenged?
So our electronic warfare solution, the ICE software for protecting the activity under jamming, interception, and so on, was tested in America by numerous testing by the different corps. Second, it was battle proven in Israel and in Ukraine. Third, it was undergoing government testing of different nations to prove that it's in their laboratories that it's working against different equipment. So it's not one, but a sequence of ongoing multiple year of testing, validation, and most importantly, combat proven. So yes, we've done it. And that's what separates people that bring some technology to people that validated it to the end with government, bring it to the battlefield, and more importantly, have all the regulations that endorsing that. So that's important as well. And if you are looking on our secured autonomy and the cybersecurity for the platforms of the drones or robots are being autonomous, over there, I think that if you read the standard, the new standard that was released and regulatory by the Department of War of what they expect to be cyber-wise, actively protecting those tools, and you will read then Mobilicom offering, people will be immediately thinking that that was done together. We didn't do it together. They didn't, we planned and worked at that for the last 3.5 years. We educated the different players around the industries, and we are glad that they understood that the problem is exactly what Mobilicom is trying to solve. And right now, the solution of Mobilicom is the only solution I know in the market for small-sized drone that can meet the standard of America. The new standard that was released by the Pentagon, which is requiring every autonomous platform in the field to have such protection, dynamic active cybersecurity by middle of 2027, which is tomorrow in the defense world. And I don't know many companies that can A, understand the standard requirements, B, develop the technology, C, test and implement it, and bring something now to the market. We are the leaders in this field as far as we know it. And we predict that that will create a big change. I would like also to draw attention of the audience to the president of AVUSI, the biggest drones or robotics industry consortium, which is led by United States, but it's also international, have stated in this recent interview that if until now cybersecurity to those platforms was to some extent nice to have, okay, from now onward, what as you can see from the industry, it's become mandatory. And you can imagine that you have a small drone carrying a bomb that you send to the other side, and someone can easily crack it, manipulate it, and take control of that, which is happening right now because there is zero protection. Again, zero protection. And they can send it back to you. That's a big thing. And you can duplicate the same thing for if you are operating some drones or robots on oil and gas areas, or if you're operating that on delivery and other aspects which are commercial aspects. You want them to be safeguarded, and it's actually mandatory to do that. So cyber is a critical piece of the puzzle that was abandoned until now, but no more. The regulation is there on the defense and commercial. The market understand that. We see compelling events, and I anticipate that within the coming 6 to 12 months, that will be the game changer of the industry.
You just mentioned commercial. We've talked in detail about how Mobilicom is providing cyber security for the military. How extensive is your commercial aspect of maybe working with companies that have drones that work in oil rigs? Do you guys even do that? This is something some folks ask occasionally on some of the online forums.
So I believe that the entire industry of drones or robotics is focused on the last 2 years on defense, because the defense budget has grown dramatically. The need and urgency is there. We see compelling events happening across the world that shows that drones and robotics are the game changers of those combats and security of nations and so forth. Obviously, everybody is moving where the dollars is, and the dollar right now is in the defense. But I would like to emphasize that I believe that small-sized robotics and drones will be much bigger. I could say up to 10 times bigger in the commercial than it will be in the defense. So yes, obviously, if the recent request for the budget of the Pentagon with additional $75 billion for drones only in the new budget, and you see those staggering numbers here in America, you see phenomenal numbers in Europe in budget. So you understand why everybody is running after the defense. But the commercial market will be bigger because every person in every house, we will have drones or robots actively working with us or for us on every aspect. So if you understand that, the market will be 10 times bigger. Maybe it will not be next year, but in the coming 2 years, I anticipate it will start ramping up. And then the cybersecurity of Mobilicom, the cloud protection of Mobilicom for those large fleet that operated, and all the other aspects is mandatory. And to even quote more, until now you could buy Chinese products to be used in American commercial applications, from insurance mapping your rooftop to see if your roof is valid for insurance, to different inspection, utility, police, and so on. But with the new regulation issued by this government a few weeks ago that will not allow it anymore, even in commercial space, there is no other option to buy American solution, and Mobilicom is American solution. So we anticipate that will push the industry to understand that we need something that we can trust in America, which is made by and regulated and also produced in America, which is exactly what we are doing.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting. Right now it looks like the money's at with the defense. Like you mentioned, the 75 billion. I don't even know what the Europeans are looking at, but I know it's multi-billion. We're seeing the contracts as they come in for Mobilicom. India, elsewhere, United States. How about Europe? Do we foresee Mobilicom expanding its presence there as well?
So we already been doing that. Those of you that follow, we just came back from a show in Europe. We've done 2 shows and exhibition. We have partners that we've done there. People know about our integration with Airbus and others. And so we are putting a more emphasis on that. We have sponsored the loitering munition in UK, which is the biggest loitering munition activity in Europe. We are going to be there in Eastern Europe in 2 weeks' time. So we are in another show and delegation that we are working and meeting with customers. So definitely Europe is on the map, because after United States, the NATO countries, 30-something nations, have changed their budget from 1% GDP invested in defense to 4 to 5% investment in defense, and huge amount is directed to the drones or robotics area. So obviously, after America, I think that European market is the most interesting market that is open for other countries. And then we have the advantage of it's very close to our site in Israel, that we can serve those customers and bring them the knowledge and capability. So the fact that we are multinational, working across United States, Israel, and Australia, we can serve best the markets across America first, then European, Israeli market, and then Asia Pacific.
Amazing. Well, those are the questions today for AMA number 108. So Mobilicom secures 2.2 million in new purchase orders from the U.S. Department of Defense from the program of record. 75 billion. Probably down the road, who knows how much that budget will go up. There's 4 years behind. Thank you so much, Oren. Thank you so much for all our guests coming from Reddit, StockTwits, and X and Discord. Next week, Dr. Paul Christensen at Disruptor Invest, PhD professor in School of Business and Innovation, will be interviewing Oren Elkayam. He's a great interviewer, so we hope to see you there as well. We'll be following closely along for the rest of April and May as Oren goes to these conferences. And we predict that Oren will be, on the bigger screen, the big TV soon. So we're very excited for that, and we hope you catch him. And if you do, please tag Mobilicom, tag Gatewatch on X. We're very excited for this. Thank you, everyone. And as you know, this is sponsored content. It's for your education, with over 40 sponsors this year, with Mobilicom being one of them. Thank you so much to all our sponsors. Thank you so much, Oren.
Thank you very much, Mo.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.